We are on the precipice of the 2024 elections. There has been a ton of work that's gone into these campaigns as well as the Second Amendment movement for this election cycle. It's time to start turning these anticipations into expectations for the Second Amendment. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today. And while litigation is moving a little bit slow, what better opportunity than right now to talk about some of the expectations that we can have looking forward to this November 5th general election that we have coming up. To talk us through that, we've brought back on our legislative director. He is also the host of Firing Line Radio. You can find him on AM 590 The Answer every Saturday at 1 p.m. That is Rick Travis. Rick, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. But before we get into that today, guys, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Right now is the time. We talk about it all year. This is the opportunity that we have to fire these politicians that are raining this gun control on us within the state of California and at the federal level. We're looking to amplify this message as far as it can possibly go. You can help us do that. So please like, share, and subscribe to these videos. It really helps out with that. So, Rick, let's just go ahead and jump into this. We're about a week and a half out from this November 5th election. What exactly are we looking to come out of it?
I mean, I think the big question that everybody should be asking is, have they voted? And I say that because while there's so much talk about the presidential vote, if you were to look at the ballot voting that had happened 4 years ago at this point, we're at about 50% of the ballots being turned in of where we were 4 years ago. So, that could suggest a couple things. It could suggest we don't trust the ballot system. It could suggest that we're just not interested. We think it's already over. We think there's no point in voting in California. And all those would be gross errors of judgment. And we need people to get out there and vote. We need to cast every vote possible for so many reasons.
Hey, and I'll go ahead and second that. You got polls that can tell you, this group of people is turning out, this candidate is looking up. These things don't actually happen unless we cast our ballots. So guys, I will second what Rick just said. If you haven't already cast your ballot, if you're not planning on going to the ballot box on the 5th, be sure to get your votes in there. We got to get our votes in there to actually bring forth this change. But Rick, bringing it back to the election, from your perspective, what are the actual implications on the federal level and the state level that this election can bring?
Those are excellent questions. Obviously, on the federal level, the presidential election always, I cannot stress that enough, has a direct impact on the Supreme Court because things happen. Supreme Court justices, generally speaking, stay on the Supreme Court until they either A, retire, or B, they pass away. And whatever administration they pass away under, generally speaking, is going to be the one that chooses who replaces them. And so that can extremely shift the balance of legislative outcomes because the judiciary can change its opinion leaning one way or the other. So obviously, we're looking at probably at least one, if not two justices possibly retiring in this next term. Having a Donald Trump in there, you're going to get people that favor the Constitution as it was written, and not having a Donald Trump in there, you're going to favor people more like the Biden administration who see that the Constitution is an interpretive document that can be interpreted in a number of ways. Most of them, I would argue, not in favor of the Second Amendment. But then you get out of there and you come down to the state level, depending on how many people we get voted into office, who they are, both Republican and Democrat, we can break the supermajority. There is what I call the known supermajority and the unknown. The known is that of purely along political lines of Democrat versus Republican. Supermajority means you have 2/3 of that House, be it the Senate or the Assembly, in your favor. However, when I said the secret supermajority, I'm referring to there are some times where we get a good chunk of Dems who are pro Second Amendment or at least neutral on it that break that supermajority because they side with us. And in this election, there are several seats that are just, anywhere from less than 100 to less than 2,000 votes, which in many districts, that's not a whole big deal to change. And so every one of those votes are going to count. And then it comes down to the local election, the farm team, so to speak, for your state and your federal starts at the local level. That could be a school board, it could be a city council race, it could be a board of supervisors race. All those come into play. And who you elect and where they stand on constitutional issues is critical because a lot of times those are the people that can either resist, like you might see in a town like Huntington Beach, where a city council has resisted some of the governor's ideas that he wanted to push in that community. It can be a board of supervisors, like we've seen in places like El Dorado County and others, where they've pushed back. So these are all critical positions to the Second Amendment and to your constitutional rights.
Yeah, I've noticed it seems like in years past, whether it be the 2022 election, the 2020, the 2016 elections, it seems like the Second Amendment has been a little bit more of a prevalent talking point amongst some of the bigger campaigns. I don't really feel like that's been there for the 2024 election. Now, I know that with the inclusion of this team that Trump is building around him, health has been a major talking point. Technology's been a major talking point. I don't necessarily want to miss the fact that it's pretty apparent that one candidate for president is certainly better than the other when it comes to the Second Amendment, even if the talking points aren't necessarily there. But looking at the state level, are there any campaigns that you see on the state level that are sticking out to you that are worth mentioning?
Well, I know this is going to be earth-shattering to people that Rick and Kevin might disagree on something. I think the Second Amendment's been very much a part of the national dialogue. I think it's different that, if you go back to the 2016 election, you had the National Rifle Association coming out strong ahead, seeing what was up at stake with the Supreme Court, and they got behind Donald Trump in a big way. And that maneuver made the Second Amendment very much a central theme in the 2016s. 2020s, not so much. We all know the NRA was going through a lot of things, and nobody had really stepped in that space. This time around, though, Kevin, I think it's interesting that if you saw Harrison Walz, while I'll just call it out, lied to the American people, but they tried to act like, hey, we're not anti-Second Amendment. We're not anti-gun. We're just for common sense. Let's get along, which is a total fabrication of reality. If you know who Kamala Harris is, you know who Tim Walz is. Tim Walz can't even load a shotgun right, so much for him being a hunter. You got Harris, who is out there saying she owns a Glock, which is a firearm that she villainized here in California as both the Attorney General and later on is our senator in the U.S. Senate. So, okay. But then you have, you can go look at the other team. You got Donald Trump. Donald Trump has supported the Second Amendment. His family is engaged in the community. Then you go to, his vice president, J.D. Vance. Yep, gun owner, no doubt there. People say, well, but he's got Robert Kennedy. Yeah, Robert Kennedy, hunter, has taken wildlife in the field, follows in his uncles and his dad's footsteps in that area. You got Tulsi Gabbard, who is a friend of the Second Amendment. So when you look at that crew, I think there almost got to be an assumption amongst themselves is like, hey, we're like the National Rod and Gun Club up here running for office. Like, we don't need to talk about the Second Amendment because we embrace it. And so I think that's a little bit of the difference that we're seeing right now is that I think you can draw some really good conclusions and lines on it. All those people, I even look at earlier on, we've had in that team, you've had both Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy, the people tried to remove them by physically killing them. And neither man, to their credit, came out and said, okay, we need to pull all the guns off the street. Nope. That was neither of their messages. They never went down that line.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. If that assumption is there, The talking points don't necessarily need to be. I know that there's been some criticism on like Tulsi Gabbard, for example, doesn't have the best record with firearms in her past, but there's definitely been a change of mind there that she's made very apparent, at least in the more recent videos that I've seen from her. But again, what about these state races? Any of them have your eye?
Well, I want to stick with feds if we could for a second. We have a couple of critical races, and I want to talk about this even at the state level. A lot of people think their vote doesn't count, and I'm going to tell you right now, we have several races that could be decided by less than 2,000 votes. So what does 2,000 votes look like? In a suburban area, that could be one person in 2 to 3 neighborhoods decide either to vote, not to vote, or to change their vote. To look at any of the people watching this video and say, you really can't get one person to go vote or not to vote or change their vote, one, that's not a big ask. That's not a heavy lift, but that's how close these races are. And some of the critical ones are, I'll start down in Southern California with Congressional District 47. That's in the Orange County area. That is the position that was held by Katie Porter, who made an unsuccessful bid for the U.S. Senate race. As a result, she vacated that. We have DUI Dave Min, the big drunkard, the guy who wants to make everybody safe by drinking and trying to kill people. And that's what it is whenever you get behind the wheel of a car as an alcoholic. You are literally in a position that, as a former medic, I will tell you, a lot of people die that way because of people that do that. So I have no respect for him in that area. He's up against Scott Baugh. That is a neck-and-neck race. Scott Baugh is all in on the Second Amendment. David Min has, as you know, Kevin, ran some of the most anti-Second Amendment stuff. We do not want to send that to the federal government, so that's a critical race. We have a couple others in the area that we're trying to, we got Vince Fong that comes out of the Central Valley. He's in Congressional District 20. Vince has been an incredible ally to the CRPA and every other 2A organization in the state. We got to get him across the line. We have a couple of areas that are kind of toss-ups, but Ken Calvert down in Congressional District 41 in SoCal, he's another one that's going to be a tough fight. McClintock up in Congressional District 5, he's another one. Kiley, who they've done everything to try to get Kevin Kiley out. They took his district, Kevin. His district used to be a small area just northeast of Sacramento, and now they've thinned it out and stretched it up and down the state on the back saddle of the 395. The most incredibly punitive redistricting stuff I've ever seen in my life. And he's in District 3. So those are all federal candidates that I think are very important for us to get behind. And then, you have the state candidates. A couple of the big ones would be down in Senate District 19. This is another one that redistricting has not been friendly to, but Rosalie Ochoa, who is a stalwart defender of the Second Amendment down in Senate District 19, is in a fight to stay in office. We need her to stay in office. We got Stephen Choi down in Senate District 37, who's been a stalwart defender of all things Second Amendment, and he's in a very close race. We also have probably the other ones that I'd be looking at that we really need to jump in on the Senate side would be Greg Wallace. He won his office down in Assembly District 47. Sorry, Assemblyman. He's a guy that less than 100 votes, Kevin. Less than 100 votes. I think it was 85 votes that got him across the line. So we want to make sure that we're revoting him back in. We got Christy Bruce Lane down in District 76. We got a lot of people like Lori Davies, Diane Dixon, Tree Ta, Kate Sanchez, Bella Saley, Philip Chen, and the list kind of goes on there that we want to keep them in office. But there's a district I want to do a special shout out to, Assembly District 58. Leticia Castillo is in a fight. That's in Riverside County. She is by far the best candidate they've had in that district in years. We need to get her across the line. That is another race that's like probably less than 500 votes is going to decide that race. And so, when you look at these up and down the state, Kevin, this is very, very tight races. And we have several races in here that we would be flipping. And if we can make that happen, we can literally break the supermajority.
Well, then that's definitely what we're going to do. And Rick, if you give me a minute here, I am going to shill just for a second. Guys, if you want to come on this ride with us, on November 5th, we will be doing a live stream on this channel. It's going to be the election live stream. We're going to be here from 6 to 10 p.m. And look, I get it. There are a lot of very popular streamers that are going to be streaming the election as well. We are going to be paying attention to the presidential races, but what we are also going to be doing is paying attention to the state level races as well from the lens of the Second Amendment. This is something that has a really big priority for us. We want to make sure that we are paying attention to these state races that end up shaping our state legislation that you all know we are consistently fighting. So we will be doing that. Again, that's November 5th from 6 to 10 p.m. Rick and I are going to be in studio here live streaming. Come along with us for that ride if you'd like to. So, Rick, getting back to this, so we got the election in a week and a half here. What are your final thoughts going into it?
I would say three things. One, go to our PAC page. It's under the programs. It's elections and campaigns. You can go down there. You can see all the people we've endorsed. Those are people that have been vetted heavily, both on their voting record. They were given a questionnaire, interviews, all those people. We even have it down to like local city races. So those are the people that you can trust. I would also say when it comes to that live stream, Kevin, there are a lot of live streams out there. I don't know any of them that are going to cover the Second Amendment like we're going to cover it and what that means to you and your constitutional rights. Because I'll say it right now, look to places where they don't have the benefits of the first, the right to redress government, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and I will show you a place that doesn't have a Second Amendment there. Those two are bookends. They go together. And so these candidates are critical to maintaining that and expanding it. And that is part of the fight that we have right now. And I would also say that this is the time of not being shy. Encourage family members, encourage friends, take people. And I'm not just saying this like, hey, you should go do this. I actually do this. I've actually already been getting together with people and having, a ballot party where people brought ballots over and we all talked about it and they filled them out and then, made commitments to take them right then to either a ballot box or the post office or what have you. I'm also a guy that has already got scheduled that I'm picking up 4 people, even though I've already voted, I'm picking up 4 people on election day and taking them to the polls. So if we all did that, it would be great because Kevin, as you know, it's a very small percentage of the registered gun voters that actually vote. And if we would actually get off our rear ends and do that, fine. And then a little shot across the bow. You ever come up to me to tell me your gripes and complaints about what we are and aren't getting done, I will have a question for you. And that first question will be, did you vote in the last election? And if you answer honestly and say no, I'll say, have a great day, and I'll walk away.
Yeah.
Because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Absolutely. And guys, if you like videos like these, you want to continue to see them and you want to see them do well, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. Really helps get the message out there. We're trying to push this out to as many people as possible so that they can be educated and have the Second Amendment as a priority when they hit that ballot box here in about a week and a half. And hey, just in case you wanted to see more of us, we have some live streams coming up. We're going to be at the Route 66 Range Expo this coming weekend. That is Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and the 27th. It's a great event that benefits you, the people, because they do their promotions there, and they are giving the proceeds to organizations like CRPA that fight for your rights. So we're going to be live streaming there on Saturday and Sunday. Come along with us for that ride as well. And of course, we are looking forward to the election live stream to bring you the California news as that election is going on. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.